here we're going to talk about loans and understanding loans and actually the rules and truth in lending. Why is this extremely important? Because no matter whatever kind of credit you provide, there's a law called the Truth in Lending Act that requires the lenders to provide certain information. And that information is there to protect you. So you can compare one loan to another, and some of the most important facts lenders must provide include the following. So no matter what type of loan, anywhere you're borrowing money, there has to be a truth in lending rules, unless you're getting a loan shark on the street. They're not going to give you any, even though some of these credit card companies treat you like that. The company who is providing the loan or credit. It's important. You may be went to a loan broker. They're not providing the credit or the loan. There is an underwriter to the loan who's providing the loan. They need to let you know who that is. The size of the loan or the credit line in dollars. They need to know how much you are borrowing from them. Now, on a mortgage statement can be confusing because it'll show the amount that you want to be borrowed, it'll show the interest, and it'll show what you eventually pay if you paid the loan on time over the 30 years. Now, you may have a heart attack because it's usually twice the amount that the loan cost. If you borrowed $165,000, it might show $340,000 of what you're paying back. If anything, that should motivate you to pay off the loan sooner. But it has to show the size of the loan and the credit line of dollars. All right. It also is a list of the charges or payments, including taxes, fees, interest. If you don't see those lists, don't sign it. Don't. And there can't be one thing, fees, and that's it. And if it's not in detail to find out what those fees are, you tell them you want them in. Why? Because you can negotiate those fees down. You can tell them, especially when you get good credit, say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be paying those closing costs. I'll pay you half of that. I know you need to make a living too, but I'm not paying that amount. So you need to figure out what those fees are, the taxes, and many of those fees are just outrageous. So if you have bad credit, you become a victim of that. If you have good credit, you can get that loan anywhere and dispute those fees and refuse to pay them. That's another reason that you need to build your credit. I also suggest read everything. Everything you see on there, read it. If you don't understand it, find someone who does. I've seen so many people on these variable interest rate loans, these ARMs on mortgages, get killed because they didn't understand the terms of the ARM, and actually the banks did not go by the contract. They raised the loans up even though they went off of the LIBOR, which is the London Interbank Offer Rate. In the last few years, that credit rate dropped, that interest rate dropped, yet these banks still raised their loan amount, which was completely criminal. If that's the case, you need to get an attorney and sue them. It's worth the attorney fees than it is to lose your house and destroy your credit. What in finance charge in dollars and APR. Not only what the interest is, because that gets confusing to people, in dollars. How much is it going to cost you? When you start seeing that, you really start changing your views towards the loan. For example, a $20,000 loan on a car over 5 years at 7% interest, you'll pay almost $5,300 in interest over the life of the loan. That means you paid $25,000 something for the car, which you think you're paying $20,000 for. That's not just $5,000 in interest. That is if you figured it out, that instead of 5% interest becomes almost 20% interest of the loan itself. 20% of the loan. 25 actually, 25% higher price. Would you pay 25% higher price for anything else? No. So you may be thinking you're only paying 5 or 7% interest, but over the life of the loan, you're actually paying 25 to 30% of the loan amount. That's why you need to look at that finance charge in dollars as well as the interest rate. Expect the repayment schedule, including when the payments must be made and the minimum payment that's required. Know when the schedule is, know when those dates are due, and know how much your minimum payment is in case you get yourself into a bind. The total payments due for an installment loan or mortgage, as well as the sales price and the item financed. Be careful. I've seen this happen to people on mortgage. Mortgages are usually 30-year fixed, 360 payments. I've seen them tell people they had a 30-year loan, and then if you look at the mortgage statement, it shows 420 payments or a 40-year loan. So be careful. Just because they say something, if it's not in writing, it doesn't mean it's there. And you can't prove things that are said in court. You have to read the contract, and the reason why they make them long, the reason why they make them confusing, so people don't read them and they hide things within there. Take the time to read it. It will save you money in the future. Also, annual fees if there's any. This is a credit card. These are several things that are on here that if you get an application for a credit card, there will be pages of things on here. Make sure you read them so you know that if you're 5 days over on your payment, you're going to get hit with a $35 fee. If you don't pay that $35 fee, you'll get hit with a late fee. Know what the fees are. They have to be in writing. Also know the length of the grace period, if there is any, before payments must be made. Some places have grace periods, some of them don't. Some are 15 days, some are 5 days. Know your grace period and make sure you set. See, that's why it's so important to set up automatic payments, because you don't have to worry about grace periods, but know if there is one, in case you're in a bind or you're on vacation or you're not around, and how long they are. Also important, no prepayment penalties. Know what they are, if there are any. There's a lot of tricks to loans where if you pay the loan off sooner, you will get penalized because they're not getting their interest. Don't just say, are there any prepayment loan penalties? Because of course they'll say, no, there isn't. They're not going to lose the loan to you. No, you can do whatever you want. Then you sign the contract and you find out there is or you can't do it. Or they say, well, only if it's in the first 2 years. How do you know if you're going to pay off a 30-year mortgage in 2 years? Let's say you run into a lot of money, you get an inheritance, you want to pay that mortgage off, you will get penalized for it. So, and even if there is, they might try to sell you on it. Well, nobody ever pays their mortgage off in 2 years. Well, guess what? You're not nobody. You're somebody that's going to. Make sure there's no prepayment penalties. If they are, understand them. If you have to deal with them, but know that they're there. Also, late penalty fees and how they are calculated. Sometimes they're not just a flat fee. Sometimes they're calculated by the principal. The interest, it causes your interest to go up. Credit card companies are great at putting all these little things in there. The same with banks. Open a checking account, they have to give you this information as well. Checking accounts and banks have become outrageous with their fees. Now Bank of America is charging $5 to use an ATM to get your own money out. They just can't stop charging you. Understand what those charges are, what late payment fees are, what they're calculated by. A perfect example is I had a debit card. I was using it as a debit. At the end of the month, I got an $8 charge. I didn't know what it was. Well, I used my debit card more than 5 times in a month, so I got charged each time 30 cents for using it, because they want you to use the credit feature on instead. Well, the credit feature, then they get 1% or 2%, depending on the credit card company, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, of the purchase. So they're forcing you in one direction or charging you in the other. Know what these are. All right, it's so important before you get hit. And all it takes is you to get hit on one of them, and it'll really make you start waking up. Also, the rules under which a lender can seize the secured deposit if you don't make a scheduled payment. This is extremely important to know, where they will eventually close the loan on you and or seize the property. Whether it's 1 month on a car payment, 2 months on a car payment, a mortgage, 1 month, 2 months, you can fight it, if you're under foreclosure. But many times they can go 1 month in a foreclosure and then lock you out from making payments. So then you have to go to court and deal with that and all the fees that are associated with it, because you're not allowed to make the payment. So my advice to you with loans, and these are so important towards your credit, is to read the contract, understand the terms, understand the loans themselves, and if you don't like it, walk away. That's why it's so important to have money in savings so you can walk away from something bad. So many people get themselves in bad credit situations and financial situations where they can't walk away, and then they get abused. Be in a position to walk away from anything that doesn't look right. There's an old saying my father used to say to me, and it's true today: if something looks too good to be true, it usually is. So if something that he's telling you or she's telling you on a loan sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Read the fine print. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks again. And if you don't understand something with the fine print, go on to the blog Ask questions. Go talk to different bankers. Go talk to different loans. Find resources of people to talk with. The internet's such a great place for information. All right, thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.